If you're on a journey of somatic healing or nervous system regulation, you might actually be thinking yourself into more chronic pain and anxiety. There's an invisible fire that builds in a subtle way. And that invisible fire might seem like it's not in your control because what's fueling it is automatic. But I'm going to give you a couple action strategies at the end of this video that are going to show you how you can turn that automatic process into opportunity to engage with your unconscious mind and heal. So I'm Healing Wolf. I had a long journey with chronic pain, with anxiety, with gastritis, with panic attacks, with POTS, with chronic fatigue, with arrhythmia, you name it. I experienced it pretty much. And I recovered by learning secrets like I teach you here on this channel. And I also learned from some very powerful coaches. So I took an attitude of learn what I can and expand. Learn what I can and expand. So I learned from rapid resolution therapy. I learned from the founder of that. I learned from a number of Mindbody coaches and Mindbody physical therapists. And so by doing that, I was able to really create some strategies and some practices that allowed me to transform my mind. So I have a very different mind than I did back then. And today's topic is all about mind. It's about thinking. Thinking generates inflammation. Thinking is the invisible fire. And not just any thinking, but negative thinking, which is so common when you're on a journey struggling with chronic pain or anxiety or panic. It's natural to catastrophize. It's normal to have negative thoughts. It's normal to have the worst possible thoughts of the worst possible things. Let's just put it that way. I had it. I was at the bottom. There were times when I didn't want to go on. And so I learned how to turn those thoughts around. And I'm going to give you those action steps at the end of the video. But let's talk for a moment about this process of thought. The unconscious mind is a thought machine. They call it the monkey mind in India, where your mind just sends you thought. And probably the reason for that is it was advantageous for survival when it evolved a long time ago. Because if we were constantly thinking, one out of 1,000 thoughts might be about something that would help us survive. Like maybe I should put up a wall between my family and the family of bears, for example. So it worked a long time ago in ancient times, but it doesn't work so well now when we're not living in the woods for the most part, and we're not in war for the most part, and we're in relative safety right now. So the brain is a prediction machine, and it's sending thoughts. And if it sends a thought that's negative, it's kind of sending a test. It wants to test whether or not that thought might be useful for survival. So let's say it sends a thought, maybe if I drive, I will crash. And suddenly you're thinking that thought and you give it some energy. You stare at it. Unconscious mind sees you staring at it. You kind of focus on it for a little bit, and maybe you have a little reaction. You get some anxiety, a little bit of anxiety, because that would be a negative thing to happen. So then unconscious mind or your brain predicts, oh, that might happen. So you get that thought more and more. What you resist persists. So if you have a thought, you label it negative, and you try to stop it, then it snowballs. It's interpreted as a threat by unconscious mind, and you get more of that type of thought. And when you do, then your brain creates inflammation through something called the HPA axis. So it's basically the brain and the adrenal glands sending these inflammatory cytokines into your bloodstream. When your cortisol is up, which can happen just from a thought, just from a really negative thought, and especially if you react to that thought, then you get these inflammatory cytokines and you get actual inflammation in your body, which is why a lot of people who have constant sympathetic nervous system activity need to find a way, and I'm presenting a lot of paths here, to bring themselves back into a state of calm and a state of curiosity and a state of courage. So how can we act? How can we act on this automatic system of thinking? Because we do get negative thoughts. It's built into us. Negativity bias is what it's called. We all evolved by having these thoughts help us survive. Even these negative thoughts, especially these negative thoughts in certain situations, like war situations. We had to be thinking all the time, and some of those thoughts were helpful. So now what do? We can act in several different ways. We can basically activate our vagus nerve, which is like the brake pedal on the whole system. It's like when I was a kid, when we had a campfire, it's like pissing on the fire, to be a little crude, or pouring your water bottle out on the fire, cup of water. I live in the swamp, so scooping some water into a cup and pouring it on the fire. So how do we activate the vagus nerve? There's a lot of ways. Some of the ways I like are humming. You can laugh, and especially if you laugh with your tongue out, it's called lion laughter. It's a crazy one. Yeah, it's crazy, but it works. Other ways to activate the vagus nerve are slow exhales, slow, deliberate exhales. We can do the physiological sigh with the deep inhale, another quick sip of an inhale, and a slow exhale through the mouth. So that's one way, activating the vagus nerve. Another way is cognitive reframing. So if we have a negative thought, and that negative thought is persistent, we can change it around. We can look at whatever that thought is. Like, for example, I might get caught in a rainstorm. And rain's uncomfortable. Here's how we reframe that. If that's the negative thought that generates fear, then we look at it as, I might get caught in a rainstorm and feel really refreshed all of a sudden, because the sensation of those raindrops on my skin feel really good sometimes. So we reframe it. Or I might get caught in a rainstorm and can watch the beautiful dance of the raindrops across the lake, if you're walking by a lake. Or I might be able to hear that beautiful sound of raindrops hitting leaves in the forest. So that's cognitive reframing. And of course, my favorite is allowing, which means we recognize that they're just thoughts and we allow them to pass. They're like farts. They come out, they go. No big deal. They kind of stink, but then the air clears. They're like storm clouds just passing in the sky. So we just stare at them. We watch them. They pass on. So those are 3 ways that you can work to improve the way your mind responds to thoughts that may be creating invisible fire on your recovery journey. If you really want to put out the fire, subscribe to this channel, and give me a thumbs up, ring the bell, and then head to my website, healingwolfcoaching.com, when you're ready to work with a fire walking, hell walking coach and book a free consult so that you and I can get together on Zoom and strategize your recovery, get you on my calendar, and really accelerate this whole process. Get you out of it, get you moving in the right direction so that your recovery becomes automated and your recovery becomes easy, enjoyable. It becomes like a healing adventure, a healing odyssey. It becomes a transformation, and that transformation will serve you for the rest of your life. So I'll see you over at healingwolfcoaching.com. And again, remember, you've got options when it comes to dealing with negative thoughts, and you can rewind the video and review those options, or check out the description and practice these. And in the comments, let me know how they're working. Out of the 3, which one works the best for you. I'll see you in the next video.